It's time for a Drunk Talk TV Music Industry News Desk Report.
Strap yourself in for where prohibited batteries not included, not available in State of Shock.
Hey everyone, welcome to the first Drum Talk TV News Desk Report of the year 2026. Today, January 9th, and we are back. I'm Steven Schinder. This is Shiley Graf. It feels great to be back, doesn't it, Shiley?
Yeah, it does. I'm very happy to be back and excited to keep doing this.
Yeah, and we got a lot of news to cover, stuff from the last couple weeks since we were on a break. So we'll catch up on music news, do This Day in Music as well, and of course, catch people up on what's happening at Drum Talk TV and Drum Talk TV Brilliance. But first, like we always like to begin these things.
Now it's time for...
All right, Steven, I have an icebreaker for you. So we've talked about a little bit how you are an improv theater enjoyer, and I was wondering if that joy for theater crossed over into musical theater, and if so, if there's any go-to soundtracks or musicals that you like to listen to.
Ooh, that's a good question. So there is a little bit of overlap in that I have seen like a couple different improv groups that do improvised musicals, and the way that they do it is when they start their show, they ask their audience for the title of a story that's never been done, like basically a title that's never been used or something. And so people will shout something and they'll pick whichever one they like best, and that becomes the title, and they sort of base the whole thing, derive ideas from that title, and it becomes its own entity for that one night only. In fact, I think one of the improv musical groups I'm thinking of is called Opening Night because they play that title for the first time, but it's also the last time they ever play it. I don't know if there's any soundtracks related to that I listen to, in terms of normal musicals, like not improvised musicals. I do have Wicked on CD. I got that several years ago, but yeah, that's pretty much it. How about you? Do you have like any thoughts on this whole thing?
Yeah, that's a really great answer, Steve. Wicked is a really good musical. I mean, my go-to, I think, is Hamilton. It's such a unique way of doing musical theater, and it has helped some of the facts of the start of America and like our government. It's helped out in a cinch in a couple of political science classes for me before. But I would actually have to say my favorite musical is actually Chicago, and the sort of 1920s jazz scene is really fun and enjoyable, and I really like the music from that as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's one that I still need to check out. Has there ever been a film adaptation of it?
Yes, there is one. It came out in 2002, I think. So it's a little bit of an older movie, but it is really good.
Okay. Yeah, and it absolutely scares me hearing that something from the 2000s is considered an older movie, but there you go. We're in 2026. All right, so now we go on to this next segment. Speaking of history,
It's time for This Day in Music History. Why not the whole week? Because we'd be here forever.
All right, on this day, January 9th, in 2020, English singer-songwriter Harry Styles was at number 1 on the US chart with his second studio album, Fine Line. The album received a Grammy Award for Best Pop Solo Performance and a Brit Award for British Single of the Year for Watermelon Sugar. It's a very popular song that played on the radio a ton during 2020, 2021. I still hear it sometimes. So it's cool that he was honored for that.
Nice. And in 2014, Rolling Stone magazine published their readers poll, the 10 greatest double albums of all time. The top 5 were Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, Bruce Springsteen's The River, the Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street, Pink Floyd's The Wall and the Beatles' The White Album. Now, a bunch of these obviously look like the more popular ones. You know, there are other double albums that I tend to listen to more. Out of these ones, I don't think I've ever listened to The River by Bruce Springsteen. I don't recall if I've heard Exile on Main Street, but I did try going through Rolling Stone's discography at some point. I just don't know how far I got back then. But yeah, it's interesting to hear about these double albums.
Yeah, definitely. It's also really interesting that they're all a little bit older. I don't think the double album is really as popular anymore. So this is really, really cool to see. In 2005, Elvis Presley went to #1 on the UK singles chart with Jailhouse Rock. The single sold just 21,262 copies to reach #1, the lowest sales ever for a UK chart topper since data began in 1969. The single was released to celebrate his 70th birthday, as a previous Elvis chart topper had been re-released each week leading up to that. Really cool that even in 2005, he was still being honored for his music, and that Jailhouse Rock is definitely one of his more recognizable songs, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And continuing with Elvis, in 2003, a grand piano once owned by Elvis Presley was sold for $685,000. Music producer Robert Johnson and partner Larry Moss sold the piano to the chairman of the Blue Moon Group, Michael Muzio, who was planning to take the piano on a casino-sponsored promotional tour. He was then planning for the piano to be shown at the proposed Rock Museum at Walt Disney World. Always interesting to hear about these basically artifacts of music history, you know?
Yeah, and this is, I think, kind of unique. We talk about some items being sold at various auctions and things, but this is unique because the person who bought it actually had plans for it that he shared publicly. So that's really cool to hear about what those plans for this artifact moving forward were. In 1997, David Bowie performed his 50th birthday bash concert the day after his birthday at Madison Square Garden in New York, with guests Frank Black, Sonic Youth, Robert Smith of The Cure, Dave Grohl, Lou Reed, Billy Corgan, and Placebo. Proceeds from the concert went to the Save the Children Fund.
Yeah, I knew it was David Bowie's birthday yesterday, and coincidentally, I heard a mention of him in one of the Doctor Who audio dramas I was listening to, and also in this movie that I just watched from like 2014 called While We're Young. Like, one of his songs is in there, and this is not a spoiler, but one of Bowie's songs is also in the finale of Stranger Things. So definitely still has a presence in all these things all these years later. Now, in 1976, Queen were at #1 on the UK singles chart with Bohemian Rhapsody. The single enjoyed a 9-week run on the chart, selling more than 1 million copies by the end of the month. It reached #1 again in 1991 for 5 weeks, following Freddie Mercury's death, eventually becoming the UK's 3rd best-selling single of all time. This song is definitely a staple, especially at karaoke nights. Like, I've definitely witnessed a couple different times where some of us would like sing along to Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's like we know all the lyrics, and that's a real testament to just how amazingly crafted that song is.
Yeah, definitely. It's very popular. I love it. One of my favorite a cappella groups, Pentatonix, actually did a cover of it several years ago. And when I was in high school, my choir teacher was a big fan of arrangements by Pentatonix. And so this was one of the songs that we sang in choir. So
nice.
It is very fun to sing. I loved doing it. So very exciting to hear. In 1970, during a UK tour, Led Zeppelin appeared at the Royal Albert Hall in London on the night of Jimmy Page's 26th birthday. John Lennon, Eric Clapton, and Jeff Beck were all in the audience. The over 2-hour-long set was recorded and filmed, but shelved for several decades, eventually seeing a release on a 2003 official DVD. It's always fun when they record things like that and then release them so many years later as a sort of memorabilia or a throwback of sorts. And I'm sure that, especially for people who may have been present at that tour, that was a really special thing to be able to get on DVD.
Yeah, there are some shows where back in the day, as hard as it is to wrap our heads around, some of the artists back then maybe weren't thinking, oh, this will be really important and historical for people to watch decades from now. And so when that stuff does resurface, especially in an official capacity, it's really great. In 1965, the Beatles started a 9-week run at #1 on the US album chart with Beatles 65, the group's fourth #1 album. The group's fourth #1. The album includes 8 of the 14 songs from Beatles for Sale and also includes I'll Be Back from A Hard Day's Night and the single I Feel Fine and She's a Woman. So yeah, again, the Beatles with all of their achievements back in the day, it feels like there's probably something for every day of the year that they accomplish something that's like in the history books. So we're always going to be encountering something involving them, it seems.
Yeah, definitely. I think Beatles is one for the ages, and I don't think that they will be going away from our minds for long. So in 1963, drummer Charlie Watts joined the Rolling Stones after leaving Blues Incorporated and his job working as a graphic designer. Talk about a step up in a career. That is awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, he's so well known for what he did with the Rolling Stones. So that tells you all you need to know. And in 1955, Rosemary Clooney was at #1 on the UK singles chart with Mambo Italiano, the singer's second #1. The song was banned by all ABC-owned stations in the US because it, quote, did not reach standards of good taste, unquote. That's always interesting, hearing what was acceptable at certain times and what also kind of changes over time, And also I'll give a shout out to, just looking in the comments, Jim Canfield, who's tuning in from Michigan. Yeah, thanks for tuning into this news broadcast, Jim. All right, so now we go into the music news.
Let's see what's in the news at Drum Talk TV. Yeah.
All right, it's a new month and a new year, which means new drumming challenges. From now until 11:59 p.m. Pacific on January 31st, you can submit your videos for the Ringo Starr Tribute Drumming Challenge and the Frampton Comes Alive Drumming Challenge. Go to drumtalktvbrilliance.com to turn in your submissions. Free members can submit up to 2 videos for each challenge, and premium members can submit as many as they'd like. Here's more about the challenges.
Yeah. I actually thought I loaded the videos here, but yeah, I'm just in the process of loading them. So yeah, we'll wait on those for a little bit and circle back to that. But let's look at what else is going on. So join us on January 20th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for our next music trivia game show. Try your hand at debut albums trivia and get in on the chance to win prizes. We've seen people win by guessing, so join the fun.
Yes, and speaking of game shows, earlier this week we had our Music Trivia Championship, where a number of 2025 trivia winners went head-to-head answering a mixed bag of questions. Want a chance to be in our next championship? Keep an eye out for all of our upcoming game shows twice monthly.
That's right. And as for what else has been going on at Drum Talk TV Brilliance, yesterday, January 8th, Les Warner, drummer for Bow Wow Wow and The Cult, has also drummed for Ronnie Montrose, joined us for a fan Q&A session where you, the fans, have the chance to ask questions. And we have more of these coming up throughout the year. We have slots. We're working stuff out with other artists. But if you missed this particular one with Les Warner, you can sign up as a premium member at drumtalktvbrilliance.com, or sign in if you're already a premium member to access the recording, as well as a whole catalog of previous fan Q&As, interviews, original series, artist fun facts, and more. And I'd also add that if you become a member, you'll also stay informed about the current talent search that we have in the works, the VJ talent search, where we'll be looking for people to become co-hosts and correspondents for Drum Talk TV. So as long as you're signed up, you'll get info on that as it becomes available. And something that Dad and I also just sort of solidified is on Sunday, January 11th, we're going to be returning with Yes Shift with an episode for original Yes keyboardist Tony Kaye's 80th birthday. So we'll be talking about him and doing a little game involving some songs that he was involved with. So that'll be fun. It'll be on Sunday, January 11th, and it might be at noon Pacific, but people can go ahead and check out the events calendar at drumtalktvbrilliance.com for when we have that info readily available. Okay, currently it's looking like the videos for the challenges are still loading. You know, the Ringo Starr challenge and here it is. I'll start with the Ringo.
Ring in the new year with the Ringo Starr Tribute Drumming Challenge. Competition open until January 1st, 2026, 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Win up to $125 worth of prizes by playing along to tracks featuring Ringo on drums. The Beatles, his solo albums, collaborations, many options. Win a gift certificate to a favorite music store, a Drum Talk TV shirt that ships in the US, and a Drum Talk TV interview. All the info, rules, and judging criteria are on the site. Free members can submit up to 2 videos per challenge. Premium members can submit as many as they'd like. Go to drumtalktvbrilliance.com.
And here's the one about the Frampton Comes Alive challenge. The live album, Frampton Comes Alive, of course, turned 50 this month. So check this out.
Frampton Comes Alive, the legendary live album, turns 50 this month. Celebrate with our drumming challenge competition open until January 1st, 2026, 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Win up to $125 worth of prizes by playing along to tracks from the live album, which featured John Siomos on drums. Win a gift certificate to a favorite music store, a Drum Talk TV shirt that ships in the US, and a Drum Talk TV interview. All the info, rules, and judging criteria are on the site. Free members can submit up to 2 videos per challenge. Premium members can submit as many as they'd like. Go to drumtalktvbrilliance.com.
Alrighty, and like we mentioned, keep an eye on the events calendar at drumtalktvbrilliance.com for when we have more info added on those upcoming slots and upcoming events. But now we shift gears a little bit here.
And now a moment to acknowledge those who have passed.
Perry Bamonte, guitarist and keyboardist for The Cure, passed away on December 25th, 2025. The BBC reported that a statement on The Cure's website shared that he passed away, quote, after a short illness at home over Christmas. Bamonte officially joined the band in 1990 after the departure of keyboardist Roger O'Donnell, and he went on to play guitar, keyboard, and bass on 5 studio albums, featured on tracks like Friday I'm in Love, High, and A Letter to Elise. Bamonte left the band in 2005, but rejoined the group in 2022 and played with them until 2024. He was also present when The Cure were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2019. Bamonte was 65 years old.
Yeah, definitely another who will be missed for sure. And this next one, we have Mick Abrahams, founding member of Jethro Tull and founder of Blodwyn Pig, passed away on December 19th, 2025. Ultimate Classic Rock reported that Abrahams had struggled with health issues as far back as 2009, when he had 2 heart attacks and a stroke, making it difficult for him to play guitar. Martin Barr, Abrahams' successor in Jethro Tull, shared a tribute on Facebook saying, quote, "My friend and mentor, Mick Abrahams, has passed. He was so nice to me, and that is something I will never forget. What a magnificent guitar player who gave us so much. Rest in peace," unquote. Abrahams co-founded Jethro Tull in 1967 with vocalist Ian Anderson, bassist Glenn Cornick, and drummer Clive Bunker, and he played on their debut album This Was, released in 1968. He left the band shortly after over disagreements about the band's direction and went on to form blues rock band Blodwyn Pig, releasing 2 albums with them. Blodwyn Pig disbanded in 1970 but reformed intermittently over the years. Abrahams also formed the short-lived band Womit, then embarked on a solo career, releasing his self-titled debut album in 1971 and several more solo albums filled over the years. He released his final solo album, Revived, in 2015. He was 82 years old at the time of his passing. So Jethro Tull is another one of those huge prog rock bands. Dad and I are fans of them, and so again, this is another loss, and Mick Abrahams definitely gotta be missed.
Certainly. Also, Chris Rea, British singer-songwriter whose hits include Driving Home for Christmas and On the Beach, passed away December 22nd, 2025. The Guardian reported that a statement from a family spokesperson shared that he died, quote, peacefully in hospital following a short illness, unquote. Rea is known for blending blues, pop, soul, and soft rock on 25 studio albums, featuring hits like The Road to Hell, taken from a UK #1 album of the same name. He sold more than 30 million albums. He joined a band called Magdalene at age 22, which had previously featured David Coverdale, later of Deep Purple. He then joined Beautiful Losers, but struck out solo when offered a record deal, releasing his debut single, So Much Love, in 1974. His 1978 song, Fool If You Think It's Over, reached a number 12 in the US and earned him a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist. He reached bigger success in the UK by the late 1980s, and his hit Driving Home for Christmas, originally recorded in 1986, had little success at first, but has over the years grown in popularity, reaching number 10 on the charts in 2021. Rea was 74 years old when he passed. This is a big one as well. I saw that song Driving Home for Christmas mentioned many times, so he was definitely well known for at least a few of his big hits.
Yeah, for sure. And lastly here, we get to Richard Smallwood, a gospel singer and 8-time Grammy nominee, passed away on December 30th, 2025. San Diego Voice and Viewpoint reported that he died of complications of kidney failure at a rehabilitation and nursing center in Sandy Spring, Maryland, as his representative Bill Carpenter announced. Carpenter's statement said, quote, Richard was so dedicated to music, and that was the thing that kept him alive all these years. Making music that made people feel something is what made him want to keep breathing and keep moving and keep living, unquote. Smallwood's songs were performed and recorded by various artists over the years, including Whitney Houston, Stevie Wonder, Destiny's Child, and Boyz II Men. After earning a music degree at Howard University in Washington, he taught music at the University of Maryland and went on to form the Richard Smallwood Singers in 1977, bringing a contemporary sound to traditional gospel music. He later formed Vision, a large choir that fueled some of his biggest gospel hits. In recent years, mild dementia and other health issues prevented him from recording music, and members of Vision helped care for him. He was 77 years old. And I think there really is something to be said for how music can keep people going. You create this art that means a lot to people, and it's almost like it's a shared experience, and it's shared experiences that really help us to keep on going, I feel.
Yeah, certainly. All of these artists will definitely be missed.
All right. So now we get onto the next segment, which is music industry news.
Now let's see what's been going on this week in the music industry.
Iconic 80s rocker Morrissey's 2026 tour plans didn't start as planned. Parade reported that the 66-year-old singer had to cancel his first scheduled concert of the year after experiencing an adverse reaction to prescription medication. He was set to perform on Saturday, January 3rd in Rancho Mirage, California, but a statement posted Friday confirmed that the show would be postponed. The San Diego Civic Theater separately announced that Morrissey's January 6th show was also canceled, though they didn't specify whether it was related to the same medical issue. Fans shared their frustrations at the cancellations, with one commenter asking, quote, "Didn't he cancel last year too?" Unquote. In November 2025, Morrissey quietly canceled a number of international tour dates, including 5 shows in South America, citing extreme exhaustion. Again, we talk about this a lot. Taking care of your health definitely comes first, regardless of what the fans think. And, I hope that fans can understand and recognize that he's having some medical issues and he's dealing with them best he can. And I hope that he feels better soon.
Yeah, definitely got to take care of all of that first before anything. All right, next up, Barry Manilow, singer known for his song Copacabana, shared an important health update recently following his lung cancer diagnosis in December. Billboard reported that on December 22nd, the singer shared that his doctor found cancer in one of his lungs and that he would be postponing his January concerts to seek treatment. He shared that his doctor ordered an MRI and in a statement shared, quote, "The MRI discovered a cancerous spot on my left lung that needs to be removed. It's pure luck and a great doctor that it was found so early. That's the good news," unquote. After his Christmas shows wrapped up, he was to undergo surgery to remove the spot, and doctors didn't believe that the cancer had spread. He recently posted a photo of him lying in a hospital bed with a message saying, "Better today." His statement from December reflected his regret for postponing his shows and his excitement to return to the Westgate, Las Vegas for his Valentine's weekend concerts in February. Manilow also shared well wishes and urged everyone to stay on top of their health through the holiday season. Again, another reminder that we always gotta keep looking after our health, making sure that we can, that we're capable of going through with plans and such. Some things have to get postponed, but for good reason, of course.
Certainly. Again, very glad that nothing too major had happened, that he apparently was able to get that removed and getting the care that he needs. That's really awesome. And I'm glad that he's excited to continue doing what he's doing. All right, Billy Joel surprised fans in Florida with his first performance since revealing his brain disorder diagnosis last year. Billboard reported that the singer delivered a 2-song set alongside Billy Joel tribute band Turnstiles in Wellington, Florida on Friday, January 2nd. During his unexpected appearance, he joined the band on stage, accompanied by his wife, Alexis Roderick, and their 2 daughters, Della and Remy. He performed We Didn't Start the Fire and Big Shot while his daughters danced beside him. This was his first appearance on stage since revealing in May 2025 that he has normal pressure hydrocephalus, for which he began physical therapy. He shared in July 2025 that he was feeling okay, but that the condition was, quote, "still being worked on," unquote, and that his balance was greatly affected by the disorder. Sounds like he's still kind of, going through the recovery of it all, but very glad that he was able to perform at least a short set and is, still enjoying the music.
Yeah, it's always good to hear positive things that happen and whatnot. All right, this next one is more of a lineup shakeup as the UK prog rock band Haken announced earlier this week that guitarist Charlie Griffiths and bassist Connor Green have parted ways with the band. Louder Sound reported that the band shared a statement to their social media saying, quote, "It's with heavy hearts that we announce the departure of Charlie Griffiths and Connor Green from Haken. We are tremendously grateful for the time we've spent together, creating music and touring the world, achieving things we thought weren't possible. Both Charlie and Connor are irreplaceable as musicians and individuals, and they have given so much to make this band what it is today," unquote. Speculation followed the cancellation of the band's appearance at Euroblast Festival and live dates with US prog rockers Coheed and Cambria. Griffiths joined Haken in 2008, a year after the band was formed, and he has appeared on every album release. He launched his own solo career with the release of Tiktaalik in 2022. Green joined the band in 2014, replacing original bassist Thomas McLean. The band's statement ended in saying, quote, "We cannot thank them enough, but we wish them all the best with any future endeavors. They will always be part of the Haken family. New music coming this year," unquote. So this was, I don't know if anyone really saw this coming, but it's interesting that they do end this by saying new music coming this year. So it does seem like Haken is still gonna keep on going. So it'll be interesting to see what shape the band takes from here on out. And Dad has actually interviewed their drummer Ray Hearn, I think, a couple of times. So they have pretty good stuff. So I'm curious to see what this new music sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. And, I haven't seen any reports or anything about who might be coming in to take over those spots, but it's definitely a big shakeup, and hopefully they can get everything worked out. And, maybe this means a little bit of a different direction for the band, which will be exciting as well.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, Alex Van Halen recently shared that he and Toto star Steve Lukather are about to start work on a new album together. Ultimate Classic Rock reported, quote, "I'm getting ready to do this record with Lukather and a couple of other people," unquote, Van Halen told Iron Maiden drummer Nico McBrain on the Metal Sticks podcast. He didn't share any more details about the nature of the record and noted that Lukather wasn't committed to any specific role in the project. Ultimate Classic Rock said it is possible that Van Halen is referring to his plans to complete unreleased music featuring his brother and bandmate Eddie Van Halen, who passed away in 2020. In November 2024, he revealed that there are three or four albums worth of unheard material in their vault, but shared that the material will stay there until they decide how to complete the projects. In early 2025, Van Halen told a Dutch newspaper that he had recruited Lukather to complete some of that unreleased music, and his brother and Lukather were good friends and often worked together. Quote, "There is no one who can do this process with me as well as he can," unquote, Van Halen said. Lukather was quick to say that his involvement in such project would be limited to a role like co-producer, declaring he would, quote, "not ever play a note of guitar on a Van Halen song." That's also big news. I think some pretty big stars working on some new music, which is awesome. And again, a good way to honor Eddie Van Halen as well.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I'll give a quick shout out to Gemma in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, chime in with any of these topics we talk about if you'd like. In a recent interview with CBS Sunday Morning, Sean Ono Lennon, son of Yoko Ono, and late Beatle John Lennon, shared that he believes it is possible that future generations could lose touch with the music and legacy of the Beatles. Billboard reported that Ono Lennon reflected on his role as a steward to his late father's legacy, a responsibility that he has increasingly focused on as culture, technology, and listening habits shift. Quote, "Obviously, the world is also a custodian of his legacy," unquote. And then here's another quote. "I'm just doing my best to help make sure that the younger generation doesn't forget about the Beatles and John and Yoko. That's how I look at it," unquote. So this is interesting. Last night I was actually watching a video about the history of Guitar Hero and Rock Band. And of course, there was a Rock Band game in 2009 that was focused on the Beatles. And I remember around that time, it felt like, oh, like my generation is like now suddenly getting into the Beatles and stuff. And so over time, it does feel like there's still Beatles content coming out. There's that documentary series on Disney Plus recently. But this idea of like, could people eventually like not be as focused on this stuff? And it's an interesting thing to think about. I think as long as we have the internet and whatnot, there will always be at least someone who discovers or rediscovers some of this older stuff. And I don't know, maybe that in itself is reassuring enough, even if it's not always the most super popular thing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny, we were just talking about how the Beatles basically have an accomplishment on every day of the year when we talk about this day in music. So very interesting to see that Ono Lennon thinks this. I'm, hopeful that the world doesn't forget them. I think that the Beatles really were, pace setters and paved the way for a lot of other bands and a lot of other music. And I still think that their influence is being heard even throughout new music coming out. So hopefully they will continue to hold a big legacy like they have been. Right. All right. Harry Styles released new music just ahead of the new year, his first release in more than 2 years. Billboard reported that on December 27th, the pop star and former member of One Direction gifted fans with an official video for Forever Forever, an instrumental song he debuted live on piano in Italy in 2023, his final concert on the Love on Tour. The video showed artful footage of fans queued outside the venue of his final show of the tour, a 2-year trek that grossed $617 million and sold over 5 million tickets. The video ended with a message, quote, "We belong together." His speech at that final concert, which isn't included in the video, showed his gratitude to everyone who supported his tour. He said, quote, "You guys being here tonight, I know you wanted to make it special for me. You make it special for me every single night. The atmosphere that you have created, the family that you have created, the safe space that you have created. I want to thank you for everything," Styles said. There hasn't been any further news about more potential music from the singer. This is also very exciting. I know that a lot of people are big Harry Styles fans, and so him releasing this kind of unexpectedly and quietly maybe is a hint for something bigger coming along the lines.
Yeah, so sometimes, these days you really could drop those breadcrumbs and it could get people hyped and it could lead to something for sure. A Mexican-American band, Los Lobos, is kicking off the new year with a long list of tour dates, adding 10 new performances to the roster. Parade reported that the band announced 10 new tour dates that are set to kick off March 27th in San Francisco, California. The run will continue through mid-May and includes a 3-night residency at the Egyptian Theater in Park City, Utah. The band also booked a 2-day residency at the Tin Pan in Richmond, Virginia in April. These dates come after the band's already scheduled January performances, kicking off with a performance on January 10th in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. They will travel around Florida, then head to New Hampshire and Connecticut toward the end of the month. They will also head to Europe during this tour season, with performances in Spain and Italy in early February. And this is great news following the recent cancellation of their co-headlining tour with punk icons X in late 2025 due to health complications with member Louis Perez, who has since recovered. So sounds like they got really big touring plans here and some interesting stops on their itinerary, really starting to shape up here.
Yeah, definitely. Very exciting for fans of that band. And, glad that Louis Perez is feeling better. Okay, after multiple teasers and Easter eggs for this year's performers, Governor's Ball announced the official lineup this week. Parade reported that the annual Summer Music Festival in New York City will feature a mix of rising and popular artists, including Audrey Hobart, Cat's Eye, Major Lazer, The Beths, Holly Humberstone, Japanese Breakfast, and many more. The Friday headliners include Lorde and Baby Keem, followed by Stray Kids and Kali Uchis on Saturday. A$AP Rocky and Jennie from Blackpink will close out the festival on Sunday. Popular emo/rock band Pierce the Veil will also perform the first day of the festival, which many fans shared their excitement about on social media. Formed in 2006, the San Diego-based band will play their first ever Gov Ball just in time to celebrate their 20th anniversary. Gov Ball is on June 5th through 7th, 2026 at Flushing Meadows Corona Park in Queens, New York. Pre-sale began Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and public general sale began at 11 a.m. Eastern Time.
Nice. Yeah, looking at all those different artist names, a lot of them are so unfamiliar to me, and it's kind of inspiring seeing that there is a lot of new stuff, new artists like continuing to get into all of this. So 1970s music icon Donny Osmond shared big news for 2026. Parade reported that the singer took to Instagram, posting a series of photos to announce the return of his ongoing residency at Harrah's in Las Vegas at the end of January. He has held the residency in Las Vegas since 2008, when he and his sister Marie Osmond began what was initially a 6-week engagement of shows at the Flamingo Hotel. That turned into a 1,730 stretch of shows, which concluded in November 2019. 2 years later, Osmond began a residency in Harrah's, his first solo run. Fans shared their excitement in the comments following Osmond's promise to kick off the new year with a celebration. Yeah, so he's still kicking with with these residencies and whatnot. And what a huge stretch of shows there, I gotta say.
Yeah, definitely. That is a huge, huge show, and very exciting that he's still doing it and finding joy in doing it as well. Canadian rock legend Aldo Nova will return to the road months after suffering a serious spinal injury. Parade reported earlier this week the musician is set to perform a hometown show at Cabaret du Casino de Montreal on January 31st, and further dates are booked later in the year in Michigan and New Hampshire, per Ultimate Classic Rock. Quote, "Good news, I'll be playing my first show after my injury right here at home in Montreal. Come on out and have a great time on January 31st, 2026, Nova shared on Facebook. He also teased more US shows to be announced soon. His last performance was during the Monsters of Rock cruise in March 2025, and in July he shared the news of his injury via Facebook. At the time, he was forced to cancel multiple shows in Ohio, Minnesota, Las Vegas, and more. Various posts over the months have documented his progress, and he shared that he was, quote, itching to play live again, unquote, in his September update. Definitely glad that he's feeling better. He apparently fell down some stairs and broke his neck from what I read. So he was, wearing a brace, doing physical therapy, all of that. Very glad that he is ready to get back on the road and that he's excited to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Classic rocker David Lee Roth, who once called it quits, is heading back on the road this year. Parade reported that Roth took to Instagram on January 5th to announce a 30-date tour of the US and Canada, scheduled to kick off on April 16th in Washington. Public on sale kicked off this morning, January 9th at 10 a.m. local time, according to his post. The artist, who hasn't released a solo album in over 20 years, ended a 5-year break from performing last May with a performance at the M3 Festival in Maryland. At the time, he quipped, quote, "We've reached the end of my first retirement. How many retirements did Rocky have? 9?" unquote. He announced his retirement in 2021, saying that the death of former bandmate Eddie Van Halen made him reflect on his future. Regardless, fans shared excitement online, with one commenter sharing that Roth was their first rock concert in the late 1980s in Montreal, Canada. The tour is set to run through August 2026. Yeah, sometimes when it comes to retirements, there's sometimes that question of, okay, is this permanent or is it temporary. One of my favorite artists, drummer Bill Bruford, who used to be in Yes and King Crimson, when he retired, he's one of those people who sticks to what he wants and what he's saying. So he was retired for a good 15 years, and I totally respected that. But then we were all surprised when he came out of retirement within the last year or so with a new jazz trio he's part of, which, to be fair, like, he's really having fun with that. So it's always interesting when these coming out of retirement things happen, and they can be for different valid reasons,
Yeah, definitely. It's very exciting to hear so many of these older artists that really kind of paved the way for the genre back when it was really starting up, and they're still going and they're still enjoying it. And that's honestly really hopeful as well, for there to be so much continuity throughout music history. All right, legendary rock band U2 is planning a comeback in 2026, Syracuse reported earlier this month. The band is working on their first new album in 9 years, lead singer Bono shared in a recent interview with Esquire. The group's last album, Songs of Experience, came out in 2017. Bono said, quote, "Everyone in the band seems desperate for it. It's like their lives depend on it. And as I tell them, they do," unquote. An album title and release date have not been announced, but Bono said in June that one song would tentatively be called, quote, "Freedom is a Feeling." He also confirmed the band's reunion with producer Brian Eno, and the band's guitarist, The Edge, shared that some of the songs might sound like, quote, "some crazy kind of sci-fi Irish folk music," unquote. The band's hits include With or Without You, Beautiful Day, I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, Desire, and All I Want Is You. Bono also shared that a new album could mean a new tour later this year, which marks the 50th anniversary of U2's formation. This is actually pretty exciting news for me. I personally am not the biggest U2 fan, mostly because I haven't listened to a lot of their songs. But actually, a couple years ago, Bono was the voice of one of the characters in the animated movie Sing 2. And they
I've seen that,
songs. Yeah, that is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Sing and Sing 2. And they used a lot of U2's songs in that second movie, and I love listening to those songs. And so with this new album, I'm excited to maybe, listen to it when it comes out and enjoy it, and maybe add them to my roster of music.
Yeah, there's some great stuff in that catalog. So you got some discoveries ahead of you, I guess. And next up, classic rock hitmakers Foreigner are making a major milestone with a big reunion. Parade reported that the band will launch its 50th anniversary year on February 25th, 2026, exactly 5 decades after the first rehearsal in New York City in 1976. Their celebration will include multiple touring formats throughout 2026 and 2027, and will include the return of original lead vocalist Lou Gramm for select performances. Foreigner will kick off their anniversary celebrations in Beaver Creek, Colorado, with current members Louis Maldonado, Jeff Pilson, Michael Bluestein, and Bruce Watson leading the acoustic concert. They will also have a March residency in Las Vegas before reuniting with Gramm for a special run in Florida to perform the landmark album Foreigner 4 Deluxe in its entirety. They will continue the celebration with a 26-date European tour in June, followed by a U.S. co-headlining run with Lynyrd Skynyrd beginning July 23rd. Their anniversary events will continue in 2027 to coincide with the anniversary of the band's debut album. So it looks like they got quite a lot on their plate for this celebration, and they're making the most of it. And I mean, co-headlining with Lynyrd Skynyrd, like, talk about a double bill right there.
Yeah, definitely. We have reported on that before, and it's definitely lots of excitement, I think, online. And, if you're fans of it, definitely go and check out those shows. That sounds like a really awesome run that they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's a reminder of what's coming up soon on Drum Talk TV.
Okay, don't forget to join us on January 20th for debut albums trivia. Go to drumtalktvbrilliance.com, navigate to our events page, and RSVP to receive the game link in your inbox the day of the game.
And don't forget to submit your videos to the Ringo Starr Tribute Drumming Challenge and the Frampton Comes Alive Drumming Challenge by 11:59 Pacific on January 31st, 2026. So that'll do it for this first News Desk report of the year. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we will see you all soon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.